Welcome, everyone. Today we're planning a grocery shopping trip with Emma and her roommate Tom. Emma, can you tell us why making a shopping list is helpful for beginners learning English?
Absolutely. Making a list helps you organize your thoughts and practice useful vocabulary. For English learners, it's also a great way to use everyday phrases in real situations, like, we need some apples, or do we have any eggs?
That's a great starting point. Before we begin, how do you usually decide what goes on your list?
I start by checking what we already have at home. That way, I don't buy things we don't need. It's also a chance to practice asking questions like, is there any milk left? Or, do we have enough rice?
Let's dive into our first group of foods, fruits and vegetables. Emma, which ones do you usually add first and why?
Fruits and vegetables are important for a balanced diet. I often add bananas, apples, and carrots. These are countable nouns, so I can say 3 bananas or a few apples. It's a clear way to practice numbers and quantities.
Interesting. Can you give an example of a shopping list phrase with these items?
Sure. I might say, let's get some tomatoes and a bag of oranges. Notice how I use some for tomatoes, which are plural and countable, and a bag of for oranges if I want several.
Now let's talk about countable and uncountable nouns, which can be tricky for learners. Tom, can you explain the difference with grocery examples?
Of course. Countable nouns are things you can count. Eggs, apples, bottles of juice. You say an egg or 2 apples. Uncountable nouns can't be counted easily, like milk, bread, or rice. We use words like some or a lot of with them.
Great explanation. Why is it important to know this when making a shopping list?
It helps you use the right words in English. For example, you say, we need some bread, not we need a bread, but you can say, we need a loaf of bread, using a container or measure.
Let's move to checking what's in the kitchen. Emma, how do you ask Tom politely about supplies you might already have?
I usually ask, do we have any milk? Or, is there any butter left? These questions use any for both countable and uncountable nouns, making them very flexible for checking supplies.
And how do you answer if you're out of something?
I'd say, no, there's no milk, or we don't have any eggs. Short answers like these are polite and clear, and they help keep the list accurate.
After fruits and vegetables, grains and dairy are next. Tom, what are some common ways to talk about these in English?
For grains, like rice and pasta, which are uncountable, you might say, we need some rice. For dairy, like cheese or yogurt, you can say, a piece of cheese, or some yogurt. If you want to be specific, use containers, a carton of milk.
Could you give an example of a sentence using both countable and uncountable forms?
Sure, let's get a loaf of bread and some eggs. Here, a loaf of bread uses a measure for the uncountable noun, and some eggs is for the countable noun.
Many shopping lists include canned goods and snacks. Emma, how do you talk about these items in English?
For canned goods, you can say, a can of beans or 2 cans of soup. Snacks are often countable, like a bag of chips or a box of cookies. Combining these helps you practice different quantity words.
Why is it helpful to learn these phrases for everyday shopping?
These are common items in most homes. Using phrases like a bag of or a box of makes your English sound more natural and helps you be specific in stores.
Let's focus on words that talk about quantity. Some, any, a few, and a lot of. Tom, can you explain how we use these in shopping conversations?
Sure. Some is for positive sentences. We need some apples. Any is for questions or negatives. Do we have any apples? Or, we don't have any apples. A few means a small number, and a lot of means many or much, like a lot of rice.
Are there situations where you choose one over the other?
Yes. If I just want a small amount, I'd say, let's get a few oranges. But if we're having a party, I might say, we need a lot of snacks.
When planning together, it's helpful to make suggestions and agree politely. Emma, what phrases do you use in English for this?
I often say, let's get some apples, or how about buying some cheese? If Tom agrees, he might say, good idea, or yes, we need that. These phrases make the conversation friendly and clear.
Can you give an example of a polite disagreement?
Sure, If Tom says, "Let's get more cookies," and I think we have enough, I'd say, "Actually, I think we still have some. Maybe we don't need more right now."
Organizing a shopping list by category can save time at the store. Tom, how do you group items for easy shopping?
I split the list into sections: fruits, vegetables, dairy, grains, canned goods, and snacks. This way, I can find everything quickly and make sure nothing is forgotten. It's also helpful for practicing vocabulary by groups.
Is this method common in English-speaking countries?
Yes, it's very common. Many people even use apps that sort lists automatically. Organizing helps beginners remember new words and use them in real-life situations.
Now it's your turn. For our mini speaking challenge listeners, try making your own shopping list in English. Emma, can you give a model example?
Of course. Here's my list. We need some apples, a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, a few eggs, and 2 cans of soup. Try saying or writing your list using similar phrases.
That's a fantastic exercise for practicing vocabulary and sentence structure. Tom, any tips for listeners as they try this at home?
Don't worry about making mistakes. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Read your list out loud and try using new words or phrases each time you shop.